when I feel like the things I care about have been left on the shelf. I refuse to let it get me down, and I keep telling myself, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, mate. Life goes on, it's gonna be okay. I've been hearing a lot about gadgets recently. Gadgets, loads of different types of gadgets. But the two most impressive gadgets I've heard about recently are these new ultraviolet drug lights. Apparently you can light up a room like a public toilet using these ultraviolet blue lights, and it makes it impossible for drug addicts to be able to locate their veins. Now, I know that being impressed by newfangled technology is the sort of thing that old people do, but I have hit my 30s, which means I have to say bye to my 20s, which were the happiest days of my life. But they do say that 30 is the new 20, because people are living to an older age these days. Only just the other week, I heard about the death of a man who died at the age of 120, which is bonkers, because it means that he'd actually been retired for over 50 years. I'm not being funny, but I wouldn't be surprised if he died from boredom. Do you think he had relatives in his will who spent the last couple of years thinking, oh, for fuck's sake, would you just? The other gadget that's impressed me recently are these new parental control settings for cars. It actually enables parents to be able to restrict the top volume of the car's stereo as well as the top speed the car can actually travel at. Brilliant invention. Hopefully it's going to save a lot of young lives. I remember when I was young, we used to buy these large round sweets called gobstoppers. They used to take ages and ages to finish, but they were really nice. It must be like giving a dog a bone from the pet shop. It could take the dog a few days or sometimes weeks to finish. You see the dog's putting a lot of work into it, it's really enjoying itself and probably finds the completion of the job highly satisfying. Let me cut to the chase here. All I'm saying is that if you're in your late teens and you've just passed your theory driving test and your hazard and awareness driving test and your practical driving test, be prepared to be bitterly disappointed when you're handed the keys to a car with parental control settings that leads you to be overtaken by learner drivers who probably even have the radio up louder than you. Years and years ago, when I was young, there was a bloke down the pub talking to my mates, and he was telling them about how gay blokes like to drill holes between public toilet cubicles to have it off of each other. And I was reminded of this when I went to the toilets at the train station, and I noticed that this was one of the loos with the holes between the cubicles, which made me feel a little bit uncomfortable. But added insult to injury, I noticed that this was also one of the toilets that were lit up using these ultraviolet anti-drug lights, which is good because it stops drug addicts from shooting up in there. But given the holes between the toilet cubicles, the blue ultraviolets felt less like a deterrent and more like romantic mood lighting. Years and years ago, when I was young, I had a friend who was a Muslim bloke, and he used to get upset because he felt like he should be treated like royalty. He hadn't earned it, that's just how big his ego was. He had the same kind of beliefs you'd imagine a radical extremist would have. We'd be having a chat and a laugh, and every now and then he would say something that would just sound a bit off, if you know what I mean. He had a bit of a nasty side. There was something a bit Jekyll and Hyde about him. I remember a few things he said. I remember him getting wound up whenever the subject of chavs came up. He used to refer to them as shite boys instead of white boys. What wound him up even more was when people badmouthed 9/11, because he said that he actually believed in Osama bin Laden and his beliefs. But what wound him up the most was simply just gay blokes. And it would make him fucking livid. And I used to think, alright, okay. As long as you're happy. Times have changed. Everyone used to have a problem with people who thought the world was round because it was believed to be flat. These days we all know the world is round. And incidentally, from where I'm standing, it's looking a bit pear-shaped these days. Catch my drift. But religious people used to have a problem with science. These days we have Scientology, which is a religion that has science written all over it. I've got a friend who's a Buddhist. And I remember a while ago, he said to me, Wyatt, what is the sound of one hand clapping? So I reached over and smacked him in the face. I mean, we all know that religious people believe God is this massive, great, big, all-powerful, all-seeing being that created the universe. I mean, imagine if God clapped. Don't you think that would make a big bang? Just a thought. Anyway, I was raised Christian, and I don't really get other religions. I ain't got a problem with them. They make people happy, and that's good. I've just never really got my head around their ideas about life after death. I mean, I've heard rumours of suicide bombers who are really looking forward to the afterlife because they've been promised a large group of 72 virgins. But they'll be kicking themselves because most of the women up there will probably turn out to be nuns. And I finally got round to watching that Mel Gibson film, The Passion of the Christ, after all these years of wondering what all the fuss was about. And it turns out it's not even in English. It's got subtitles all the way through. And I hate subtitles. I might as well just read the book. And of course we had the Ice Age. That's over. Now we're all doing the best we can to help the world to heat up faster than it would naturally, so that we can melt all the icebergs up in the North Pole to get revenge for what happened to the Titanic. Tough love. It's got to learn. Cause I'm having a good day. The sun is shining. I hope it's shining your way.